Welcome to the Inspiring Heights podcast. I'm your host, Vanessa Kaiser, and I am so excited to be here with you today. Inspiring Heights exists to walk alongside you as we learn to create healthy rhythms, flourish in our faith, and be inspired where our feet are. We're honored that you're with us today. We can't wait. Let's get started. All right. I have a confession to make. Sometimes, every so often, I talk to myself. Nope, that's not true. I actually talk to myself a lot. Like, whenever I'm alone, I'm generally thinking through something out loud. And I've actually always been this way. My mom tells a story about when I was younger, I like to go for walks. And one day I was having an entire conversation with myself, questions and all. And my mom was listening to me out the window and thought it would be really funny to answer the next question that I asked. Needless to say, I was absolutely mortified. And you would have thought that that would have cured me right then and there, but it didn't. I just made sure I was further away from the house next time. But as I've gotten older, the talking to myself is much less about daydreaming as it is about problem solving, working through an idea or an issue that's going on in my life. And what I've come to realize is that I really value and crave that time alone to think through things. That time in the car to and from work, or making my morning coffee while hubby is in the shower, or hanging out alone at home. Don't get me wrong, I love to be with my people. That's not it at all. It's just that time, that thinking time and space. I crave it sometimes, where I can really work my way through a thought without being interrupted. I first heard about what this concept is actually called at the Global Leadership Summit a few years back. It's called Whitespace. And Whitespace is when you give yourself time to allow your mind to think through all the unthunk thoughts that you have. That's how Juliet Funt puts it anyway. To provide some clarity, let me tell you what Whitespace isn't. Whitespace is not prayer or Bible time. It's not daydreaming time. It's not catch up on your work time. Whitespace can be long or short. It can be used and implemented in incredibly moldable to who you are and what season of life that you are in. You see, we live in a world of incredible busyness. We rush from one thing to the other, work to soccer practice, then to the gym for a quick workout, home for supper, fast house project before bed, and then we do it on repeat, day in and day out. And sure, everyone's story is different, but I would be willing to bet if you thought about how the last 10 people who responded to the question, "How are you doing?" answered some version of "good but busy," it would be at least 60% or above. We live in a fast-paced world where technology, social events, and house projects keep us running at lightning speed so much of the time. Here's something we sometimes forget about lightning speed. When we are constantly moving, not only are our hearts and our bodies tapped, but our brain is maxed out too. It doesn't have the time or the capacity to really think about things. Maybe you've experienced this, or maybe you haven't yet, but for me, and what I would contend to be true for most of us, is that a maxed out brain rarely leads to the type of fulfillment that we're looking for in life. I want you to know, I'm not a Whitespace expert. I am still on the learning journey of implementing this discipline in a consistent and rhythmic way. But I wanted to share some thoughts with you that I've had while I've been on this journey about why Whitespace is a discipline worth considering and how you can fold it into your day-to-day life. Let's start with our why. First thing, making good decisions. Have you ever been so tired that you laugh at the drop of a button? Like literally, if someone drops something, you roll on the ground laughing because your brain is so tired that normal day-to-day situations seem like the funniest stand-up comedy show you have ever seen. I remember going camping with some girlfriends a few years ago, and I had just finished up my master's degree, like literally the night before we left, and I had been up till like 12 a.m., which is way too late for me. And I was totally exhausted. By the time we got to the campsite, it was like 9 o'clock at night. And whenever someone opened their mouth to speak, I busted out in loud, relentless belly laughing. And there are some really fun and humorous moments that make for great stories like that. But you and I both know that one shouldn't be making important life decisions in those moments of complete and utter exhaustion, if at all possible. When I think someone saying my name is slap your knee, roll on the ground funny, I'm liable to make irrational decisions, like we should move to Antarctica and build a house next to a penguin. To think that we are living in a constant state of exhaustion and yet making important life decisions every day is, well, I'll just say it, it's downright terrifying. Everything we do has ramifications, good or bad. And if we are constantly flying by the seat of our pants and doing whatever feels right in the moment because we haven't had time to think, our hearts will be deceived and our decisions won't actually reflect the deepest of our desires. Whitespace can provide us with a place to think about the decision at hand, to think about who can be wise counsel for us regarding that decision, to think about what the Bible says about the decision that we're facing. You get the point. Whitespace gives us the room to see the decision, to see the situation from all the angles, to walk all the way around it, so that at the end of the day, we can be making wise, good, sound decisions. Number 2, being a good steward. There are lots of things buying for our time, our energy, and our money. Kids' sports, nonprofit events to save the tiny humans, church activities to share the gospel, work functions to meet the big boss and buy for the new corner office. You know this. You live this in your own way. We can't actually do everything though, right? However, unless we carve out some time to look at our schedules and really consider where our good yeses and our good nos lie, we won't be setting ourselves up to be good stewards. It's like Newton's law of motion. An object in motion tends to stay in motion unless acted upon by an outside force. In this case, Whitespace would be the outside force. Point number 3, being more intentional. Have you ever missed someone you care about's birthday? Have you ever told someone that you were going to pray for them as they went through surgery or had a hard conversation, and then you totally forgot about it? I am so guilty of this, and I hate it. I don't ever want to do it again. I don't want to be the person who is so in my head that I miss opportunities of intentionality, both with the people that I love and strangers alike. Taking time to think consistently helps us to get stuff out of our heads. It's kind of like drinking water. The water empties from the cup and energizes our cells. Whitespace reduces all the things that we're holding onto in our brain by dumping them out and energizes our souls. So if making positive decisions, being a good steward, and being an intentional person all seem like good reasons why, then let's move on to the how. First things first, decide why it matters to you. I just gave you 3 reasons why it could matter to you, but you have to decide why it actually matters to you. We talk about naming our why in work settings all the time, but I honestly believe that this principle is really quite applicable to us in all of life. We've all tried to implement a new habit or a rhythm that just hasn't stuck. And we sometimes blame it on taking too much on at one time, or it just wasn't the right season, or frankly, I just don't have enough discipline. And I think it's actually often because it wasn't important for us to make it happen. Those other things, they might play a part for sure, but we haven't said out loud why we're getting up early to get in a morning walk or keeping a planner that we review each day. We get these short bursts of motivation from Instagram, a friend, or a podcast that we love, and we launch. but we miss the why step. So before you decide how you're going to implement Whitespace into your rhythms, decide why you even want to. What are you hoping to accomplish? And why is it worth your time? Second, decide what you want Whitespace to look like for you. Remember how I said that Whitespace can look different for everyone? I do believe this, so I don't want to be too prescriptive about it. But I do want to give you some tools for figuring out this new discipline in your life. First, decide how frequently you would like to take time out for thinking the unthunk things. Daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly? And how much time during each of those sessions do you want to set aside? I start here because, like we've established, life happens, like literally every single day. So typically, at least in my life, if I haven't decided my time, I will do something for much less time and far less frequently than I actually want to. Second, decide where you'll do it. Do you need to leave the house? Go for a walk? Go to a coffee shop? Lock yourself in the closet or the bathtub? You know where you can think. Some people like noise and the hustle and bustle of people all around, and others crave the silence and actual time alone with their thoughts to maybe even talk out loud. You know you, so you decide. Where will you do it? Third, think about what you're going to think about. Are you going to let your mind think unthunk thoughts about work and your kids and your church all in one session? Or are you someone who prefers to think about one thing at a time? If so, it might help you to name your white space. This is my work white space or my family white space. Give yourself a theme if that's something that will be helpful for you. And I really, really like to talk about things in threes, but I have just one more tip for you. So tip number 4, think about what tools will be the most helpful for you regarding your thinking time. Like, will you want to write things down? And if so, what notebook would be a good place to store that in? Will you want your planner? Is your phone going to be helpful or a distraction that you should leave behind? Do you need a classical music or a 90s country playlist for white space time? By deciding in advance what you need, you can set yourself up for a successful thinking session. Tip number 3, schedule it. Now that you've thought about what your white space should look like, it's time to get it on a calendar. If I decide that I want to make time for white space thinking each week and I don't put it on my schedule, it'll literally go swooshing by and I will say, oh well, I'll try again next week, until the end of the year comes and I haven't done it. You've done the hard work. Now you just have to make the space. Set a reminder on your phone with a 15-minute warning. White space alert, prepare yourself. Let your people know, your team, your family, your spouse, your roommate, whoever that is for you. Let them know that you're going to be unavailable for X amount of time between this time and that time on such and such a day. My final encouragement, friends, start slow. Don't assume that you can go from 0 to an hour of white space a day. Give yourself an on-ramp to what you want your frequency and length of time to be. All right, friends, I want to take a second to tell you what's been inspiring me lately. I started to read the book called The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry by John Mark Comer. I'm only a few chapters in, but I have become very aware of the feeling of hurry in my life. I'm always in a hurry, and I'm not a super patient person, which I'm consistently asking the Lord to refine in me because I so long to be. But my impatience drives my feelings of hurry. Hurry, we're late for church. Hurry, I'm late for work. Hurry, I want to get done cleaning. Hurry, I'm ready to eat supper. And I'm still working through what pivoting away from that word and those emotions really look like. But for right now, I'm super thankful and inspired for the awareness that this book has brought me. I'm willing myself to slow down, give more time, more space, and less hurry. It's been a beautiful journey. All right, friends, take a moment and think about what's been inspiring you this week. One more thing before I go. Remember a few episodes ago when I told you there was a surprise coming? Well, today I am finally ready to share that exciting news with all of you. We are launching the Inspiring Heights newsletter. The Inspiration from the Moments newsletter will hit your inboxes once a month and will be a place where I share an inspirational story that I'm not sharing anywhere else. To add to the excitement, as we kick off the launch of our newsletter, we are also doing our first ever giveaway. There are 3 simple ways to get your name in the drawing. First, subscribe to the Inspiring Heights emails by visiting our website, inspiringheights.org, clicking on the Contact Us tab, and filling out the email subscription form. Second, leave a review for the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. And third, share the podcast on your social media and tag us. I promise these are simple steps and the giveaway will be well worth your time. Stay tuned with us on social media to see all the goodies that go in the giveaway box. The drawing will happen once we hit 650 downloads. Friends, thank you so much for being here today. It means the world to us. Hey, you can check us out on Facebook or Instagram at Inspiring Heights. If you haven't already, subscribe to the podcast so that you never miss an episode. And if you're so inclined, go ahead and leave us a review. This helps for new listeners who haven't heard the podcast to kind of get a feel for what the show is like before they even hit play. If you have friends who aren't yet subscribers, share this with them if this is something you think that would be helpful and encouraging to them. Okay, friends, until next time, take a deep breath and be inspired where your feet are. Bye for now.